everybody. How's it going? If you guys watched my video yesterday that I posted, which I'm sure most of you probably did not, as there is probably no one watching this video. But if you did, you will know that I'm headed to California today to meet up with a buddy of mine, Samuel. And I'm driving down Interstate 15 right now, about, I don't know, half an hour from Baker. So I still got a ways to go since I'm going to San Diego. But I wanted to make a video. I don't know if serious is the right word, but it's definitely, the mood is a little different than what I posted yesterday. As you guys may or may not know, I have two dogs. My wife and I have two dogs. Our boy Dixon, he is what we believe to be a golden retriever mix. He's pretty small, I think, for a golden retriever, for a full-grown golden retriever. So he's definitely got some other small breed mixed in with him, because he's only about 55 pounds soaking wet. And, you know, sometimes adult male golden retrievers can be upwards of 80, 90. If there's anyone watching that has more accurate numbers, please feel free to correct me. But we've had him for about, let's see, October will be 3 years that we've had him. And he'll turn 3 in August. Well, we have this like long-standing nickname for our boy as the lemon puppy. You know how like when you buy a car that just generally sucks and there's problems with it? Well, our boy doesn't suck. But you know, like when you buy a car that might be a good car, but it's just got a lot of problems, you know, it's constantly in and out of the dealership, getting repairs done, and it's a brand new car. Well, that's Dixon. And he has just been nothing but, okay, go ahead, you know, no signal, that's fine. No problem. No problem. Just go ahead and cut off into my lane and don't signal or anything like that. That's fine. Anyways, so he has had some medical issues. And the first big medical issue that he was afflicted with was something called eyelid entropion. Now, I'm not going to get into that too much. I might make a separate video for that one. It's not really as in-depth as what I'm actually going to talk about today will be. His eyelids, it's a disorder where dogs' eyelids have just too much skin and there's just too much flesh there. And what ends up happening is their eyelids start to fold inward, that their fur scratches their eye, and it becomes, I'm sure, really uncomfortable and painful. And if not corrected, can cause permanent damage to the eye. So he basically got an eye lift. That happened, that was, I would say, probably about 2 years ago. I'd say 6 or 7 months after we got him that happened. He had a cone for a couple of weeks while his stitches and his incisions were healing, so that wasn't really that big of a deal. But the main point of this video is his diagnosis of Pemphigus. And if you're sitting there saying the word Pemphigus to yourself and wondering what the hell is Pemphigus, don't worry. You're not alone, because I said the same exact thing when I heard it the first time. I'm like, what the hell is Pemphigus? There's different types of it. There's like Pemphigus vulgaris, Pemphigus I don't know. If there's anyone watching that has no more insight, feel free to drop in the comments. But he was diagnosed with the more mild strain of it, if you will, where it's not necessarily life-threatening, but if left untreated, it certainly can be. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me begin at the beginning. I would say it was probably like last March. My wife and I were playing with him, and we noticed like a little raw spot. There was no, just past the tip of his nose, just past the wet part of his nose, we noticed a raw spot on his snout, where, you know, there's typically hair. Well, there wasn't. It was kind of red, and it was just, you know, bald, I guess, for lack of a better word. And we were like, well, that's odd. And we were trying to think, what the hell could that be? And sometimes we play fetch with him inside the house. You know, we'll just chuck something down the hallway, and he'll go grab it and run back. And sometimes he gets a little overexcited and really gets into it. And we thought maybe he had drug his nose somehow on the carpet, and maybe it was just like a bad rug burn on his nose. You know, hoping against hope. So what we did was there was some stuff that we saw on Facebook, I think is where we saw it originally. It's called Snout Soother, and it's basically just an over-the-counter little, maybe like fancy bag balm, more or less, So we bought some of that to try to, keep his skin moisturized, and whatever the issue was, maybe it, would heal up if we just put some of this cream on it. We kept doing it day in and day out, applying this stuff to his nose, hoping that it would clear up. Well, unfortunately, it wasn't helping, and the condition was only getting worse. And the wet part of his nose started to become cracked, and it would bust open in some spots. It started looking really gross. So we're like, well, shit, what's going on? Maybe it's allergies. So, some people said, try giving him some Benadryl. I don't know if we ever actually tried that, because I think we realized, once the snout soother wasn't working, I think we realized that it was something a bit more serious. So we just kind of waited a little bit longer. I remember it was April 18th. I'll never forget that. It was because that's my wife's birthday. And that was the first time that he had to be taken to the vet for this issue. Was on her birthday, unfortunately, because I was at work. So that's how I'll always remember what time of year it was. So April 18th, she took him to our, his normal vet. And there's two vets that work there, and Dr. Flom is, the guy that runs the show. He's the more experienced one. He's been doing veterinary medicine for a long time. But he's got a younger doc that works with him, just to try to help take on some of the workload. And I won't say that, this doctor isn't good. He's still just, he's still learning. That's why they call it practicing medicine. He's still practicing. So, we understood, but he didn't know at first what it was. He had, I feel like he had no idea. So he just kind of tried some things and said, well, let's try steroids, which, is a good thing to do, because steroids are what he's on right now. Steroids are what treat it. He didn't treat it the right way. He tried like a 3 or 4 week course of very heavy steroids, expecting that to clear it up. Well, it didn't. All it did was just load our boy up with steroids, make him lose all of his hair, make him thirsty, make him dehydrated, make him, not able to hold his bladder. Poor guy. We were gone one night, and being on these steroids, he wasn't able to hold his bladder, and he peed in the house. And I know that he felt bad about that, because he's a good boy and he knows where to go to the bathroom. So it was really hard on him. And so we finished up that course of steroids. Didn't fix anything. We took him back a second time, and I think he saw that same doctor. And we tried some other stuff, and it didn't work. And took him back a third time to his normal vet. And by the time he was in the third time, it got really bad. Like, we woke up one morning, and by this time it was like May. It was like late May. We woke up one morning, and it was the worst we had ever seen. I'll post some pictures, like I said. And he was super lethargic. He just seemed ill, just physically ill. And we were like starting to get really worried, because by this point, the rawness had worked all the way up his snout, and it started affecting around his eyes. And he was definitely running a fever that day. He was in bad shape. And I actually left. Her and I both left work early that day to get him to the vet. The third time we took him in is when we saw Dr. Flom, the guy that runs the show. And he looked at it and instantly knew, oh, that's Pemphigus. That's what that is. That's Pemphigus. He said the only way to know for sure is to do a biopsy of the nose, get a skin sample, and send it off to the lab. That's the only way to know for sure what this is. And so, being that our boy was so ill, he was hospitalized there at that vet for 2 days. About 48 hours he was there. Her and I were both scared to death, because as soon as he gave us his unofficial diagnosis, we went home and started doing some research. And it's really scary. I mean, in all honesty, when you start reading up on it, the different kinds of pemphigus that a dog can be afflicted with, there's some, like I said, that are more mild that he's diagnosed with, and there's some that are way more severe that can be fatal. So we were scared to death of what was going on. It was probably one of the longest 48-hour stretches of either one of our lives. So at that time, we were doing some research, and we were looking into other doctors and other second opinions. Not necessarily that we didn't trust Dr. Flom's opinion or diagnosis, but being that he's just a general veterinarian, he doesn't have the specialty in dermatology. doctors that may have, you know, focused their entire career around stuff like this. And we found one of the only veterinary dermatologists in Vegas. Her office is called, and for anyone in the Vegas area, write this down, because Dr. Trimmer at Animal Allergy and Dermatology Specialist, she's awesome. She takes her time with her patients. She takes time to listen to the dog mom and dads and cats. Well, anyways, we got an appointment scheduled with her, and the initial visit was pretty costly, being that she is a specialist. It wasn't cheap, and it still isn't cheap, but it's worth the money, because you can't, unless you've got a super awesome veterinarian, you can't trust just a general vet with something this specific. So we got him in to see Dr. Trimmer and Trimmer at Animal Allergy and Dermatology Specialists. I would say within a week, we were seeing Dr. Trimmer. They had like a really long backlog of appointments, and they were saying it was going to be a couple of weeks. And we told them the situation and told them how dire the situation was, and they were able to squeeze us in. I would say within a week. They bent over backwards for us, and I can't thank them enough for that. We got in there that first initial visit, and by that time, the biopsy that Dr. Flom had done was back, and it was Pemphigus, and so she didn't need to do that. So she knew, okay, this is what we're dealing with, this is what we need to do. So boom, 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 we're gonna do this, this, and this. And it was a very heavy dose of steroids, again, like the original doctor tried the first time, but he just didn't go about it the right way, I don't think, and it might have been the wrong kind of steroid. So he was on steroids at first, and several other medications. I can't remember all of them right off the top of my head right now. But there were a lot of really bizarre treatments that we had to do. Like, we took a diluted chlorine or bleach, household bleach mix and water, and sprayed his skin. And we both, that was the doctor's orders. And we were like, wow, that's really strange. And she says, no, do it, trust me. And so we did. And spraying that bleach solution on his skin was one of the best things we could have done, because what it does is it dries out the skin, and it makes all the lesions dry up and flake off. So that, on top of the steroids and all the other meds that he was on, made within, I would say, by the end of summer, because all this was happening late May, by the end of summer, his skin was fairly clear. The steroids made him lose a lot of hair, which was hard to see, because he looked like sickly. He didn't look right. His sides were bald, and he just didn't look like his normal self. But all the things that Dr. Trimmer, her plan of treatment was second to none. Because I would say within 6 months, by Christmas time, he still had signs of it on his nose, and he had a few flare-ups, in that time. But I would say by the end of the year, around Christmas time, he was doing really good. And now we're a year later, and he's back to his old self. The only thing, and I'll post a picture of this as well, the most up-to-date picture of him. The only thing that he's still dealing with is just one little sore spot on the tip of his nose. Basically, exactly the same as what he was dealing with when he was first diagnosed, or when we first noticed this. So I think that is a tremendous victory, and I can't thank Dr. Trimmer and her whole staff, her nurses and all her office personnel. I can't thank them enough. From Haley and I both, we can't thank them enough for taking such good care of Dixon, because now we have our boy back. Being that it is an autoimmune disease, it is a lifelong affliction. It's something that he will live with for the rest of his life, but with continued treatment and care and regular visits, he can live just as long as the next dog, which is awesome. We got super lucky. We had to spend a lot of money because we didn't have the forethought to purchase, pet insurance for him. So we've had to come out of pocket for everything, and we're still having to come out of pocket for his routine meds. He's on his maintenance dose of medication right now is a medicine called Atopica, and it's a non-steroidal immunosuppressant, because that's what the steroids basically are for, is to slowly being weaned off the steroids, which is a good thing. The less steroids that any living being has to be on, the better. So I think actually by the end of this month, it's July, what is it, July 13th? Is that what today is? Yeah, July 13th. So by the end of July, beginning of August, on his current schedule, he'll be off steroids completely, which is awesome. So he'll just be on the Pemphigus, 125 milligrams a day. That stuff is expensive. So that's really our biggest expenditure right now, which compared to last summer is nothing, because right after he was diagnosed, he was needing checkups every 3 weeks, blood work every 3 weeks, to constantly monitor his blood to see how he was reacting to all the meds that he was on. So last summer was an expensive summer, but we wouldn't do anything differently. We would do it all the same, because now looking back a year later, he's in the best health that he's ever been, and you know, we got our boy back. Again, like I said, this is a lifelong affliction, so there are some parts of his life that will never be the same ever again, but he can still live a long, happy life. But some of those changes in his life are, he can't be in the sunlight. The reason for that is that pemphigus can be triggered or even caused by excessive exposure to sunlight, the UV rays. There is no way to exactly pinpoint what causes pemphigus, or what infects a dog or even a person with pemphigus. So there's no way to pinpoint. So we have no idea what actually caused it. Maybe an allergic reaction to something, but that's irrelevant because he's got it now, and it doesn't really matter how he got it. All we can do now is do everything in our power to keep it from flaring up again and getting any worse. And part of that is no exposure to sunlight, which is rough being in Vegas. There is no shortage of sunlight or heat. Heat also, you know, affects him negatively. So basically in the summertime, he can only go outside during the day just long enough to poop and pee. That's it. Even at nighttime, if it's too hot, he can't go outside because the heat affects him. So pretty much he's strictly an inside dog in the summertime. You know, just enough time to go outside to poop and pee, take care of his business, and then, you know, he can go for walks early in the morning when it's cool-ish, you know, 85, 90 degrees. He can be out in that before the sun comes up, you know, when the UV index is low or none at all. Once the fall and winter hit, you know, when the days are shorter and the weather's a lot cooler, he gets to spend a lot more time outside, which I know he enjoys. So it's rough. It's taken a lot of work and, again, money on our part, but we wouldn't do anything differently because he really has brought a lot of joy to our lives, and we don't know what we'd do without him. I know that I must sound like a crazy, like, over obsessive dog parent, but I guess I probably am a little bit, because the attachment that I've formed with him is really hard to explain. I mean, other pet parents that are watching, I'm sure you guys get it. You know, the kind of attachment that you can make with another being that you never get to hold a conversation with or do normal things with. You know, I mean, you get to do a lot of fun things with a dog, but it's different from a person. But the kind of attachment that you can form with an animal is pretty special. So yeah, I'm a crazy dog parent, I guess. So that's his story, about his pemphigus story. Again, I'll post more pictures. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll just kind of do like a montage or a slideshow of all the pictures that we have of his progression and of the disease, and as well as the progression of his healing. And if you guys have any questions for me, just feel free to drop them down in the comments. If anyone watching this video suspects that their dog might have pemphigus, I hope that this video has helped you, and all I can say is I encourage you to not put it off. Get your dog into the hands of a highly trained specialist, a dermatology specialist, because they're the ones that are really going to know exactly how to attack this thing head on, because it really needs somebody with the experience and the knowledge. Regular vets are all good and fine for, normal bumps and bruises and illnesses, but for something like this, I can't stress that enough. Do not hesitate, and do But again, that shouldn't even come into play, because if you love your dog and you want to make sure that your dog is healthy, money won't matter. You just need to get your dog into the hands of a specialist. And if this video has helped you, then feel free to hit that like button, subscribe. I'm trying to build up my my subscriber base. I'm giving, like I said in my video yesterday, I'm giving vlogging a try. I don't know if anyone's ever even going to find my channel, or any of the stuff that I post will even be of any entertainment, but hopefully this video at least was informational and educational, and if I've even helped one person out there that has a dog with the same issue, then I feel like this video was a complete success. So, and I know it's kind of long-winded. I know I'm at like 25 minutes now, but maybe I can do some editing and get it down a little shorter than that, and get to the main points. But again, if anyone has any questions, or maybe they want to share their own experience, just drop them down in the comments. I'd love to hear how other people, what they've experienced and the outcome. Because I think that canine pemphigus is not a very well-known disease because it is so rare, but I think we need to get the awareness out there, and know that it's a real threat to our dogs, and if left untreated, it can be fatal. So again, I hope that I've helped some people out there, and thanks for watching. So take care.